And how are you doing tonight, Cole?
Hi, Nick. Hi, all. Yeah, very, very good. Glad it's the weekend and really looking forward to Imola.
Yeah, it's a great track. But let's talk about last week, Cole. Street track, our first this season. Didn't see too many incidents in the steward's office, but we did see more DNFs and damage than we normally would on a traditional track. Do you think drivers are just playing with the limit a bit too much?
Yeah, I would say so. But in all fairness to the drivers, Axlock and I were talking last night, and we were very, very surprised that the limited number of reports that were done for Baku, due, with the nature of the track, which really credit to all the drivers, really, because they were very, limited reports, and two of them were for unfair warnings, so which is good.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit of a consistent feature, isn't it? Where the last couple of weeks, the track's given multiple warnings when you go wide. So hopefully that's something to look at in the future and get right. Because I think last week, last week, but what we're discussing now, it actually changed the winning result of the P2 tier, which is always mixed emotions for the drivers. Because if you cross the line, you don't know that the driver who's been penalised by a in-game penalty is actually hoping to get it removed due to it being unfair.
Yeah, exactly that. It really is poor, really, from CODEMASTERS, especially for that particular. I think Moogs had like 4 warnings for one corner cut. Same thing happened to Owen as well in P1, and of course Larkin's under the impression he's won. And Moogs doesn't get to celebrate it then. He has to wait until Thursday, so it's a bit of a shame. But this is the beauty of having stewards, is that we can remove unfair penalties like that.
All right, well, speaking of penalties, let's jump over to the incidents. Now, I think Jess is going to bring you up an incident in qualifying between Larkin and Popper. And this incident, Cole, actually split into two parts by the stewards, which hopefully you'll be able to explain for us. I think Jeff is going to get it up on screen. But ultimately ended Larkin's qualifying. 4 choices from the championship leader in P2.
Yeah. So what happened was, and Jess will get the stream up now, is that Papa went through the castle section, damaged his car, and in frustration retired from the session on the track, which obviously you're not allowed to do. Now, normally, the AI will try to get out of the way, but Larkin was coming behind him, and with Papa's AI in front of him, Larkin had nowhere to go while he was on a hot lap and actually hit the back of Papa's AI car and retired from the race. So you can see here now, Larkin's coming through end of sector 1 into sector 2.
Yeah, and I think this is his last lap, isn't it, in the quali session. So the grip's at its highest, it's the most important. You can see he's now gone green. And he continues to be green, so ultimately he would have been disappointed, and this would have affected his starting position of the race, which obviously affects the race in turn as well. But it's out of this castle section, and it's a bit confusion. You could tell Larkin didn't know what Popper was going to do.
Yeah, exactly that. So Papa's already retired on the circuit, and when you come on, there you can see the car. And he just stays on the racing line, and unfortunately Larkin's wiped out of the session. So the stewards gave, like you said at the start, Nick, split it into 2. So it was a 5-place grid penalty for retiring from the session, and a 3rd-place grid penalty for causing the contact with Larkin. Just a reminder to all drivers, even when you are paused, any point under AI, you are then still responsible for that car. So when Papa retired from the session with his AI on the track, he is then still responsible for what that AI car does. So just a reminder to everyone, please don't retire on track. Wait until you're back into the pit lane.
Yeah, precisely that. And in the race, of course, retiring on track can cause a safety car. So, important that rules are followed in the race and the qualifying. Now, let's jump on to the next one, which is one of Mikey's incidents in Baku. There were two of them he brought to the stewards. One was no further action. And then this one, which was at turn 3, ultimately the stewards decided to give a penalty for it. Now, I was talking to Mikey the other day, and he wasn't very happy with the decision because he believed that Fadged, I think his name is, dive bombed. But what I was trying to explain was the stewards looked at the 50% rule at the point of turn in, and ultimately, obviously we're having some issues with some video on stream, but ultimately he was 50% alongside at the point. Mikey on the outside defending his position was turning into the corner, and yes, we do appreciate it was it's a difficult corner, and also Cole, I think that being a 90-degree corner makes it even more tricky. But ultimately it was the lowest penalty the stewards could hand out because it was the lowest amount of time lost. I think was decided.
Yeah, exactly that. To be honest, this incident was quite a straightforward one for the stewards. So you can just see it on stream now. So Farge is more than 50% alongside in the braking, but Mikey does not leave a car's width on the. He squeezes him and makes contact with him. It's a very clear-cut one, in my opinion. Farge is alongside way before the braking zone and should have been warranted a bit more space. Now, because there was no damage, it wasn't as severe. We just applied 3 seconds to Mikey's total time. But you can see here now he's way, way, way alongside. And there you can, just as when they come in, there's not that car's width and there's contact made. So that's why the stewards, sorry Nick, that's why the stewards then applied the 3 seconds.
Jess, I don't know if you've got Mikey's footage at all, or if you haven't had time to download it. Just say something in our... Yeah, so Jess will pull Mikey's footage up, and to be honest, it was more Mikey's footage that, in my opinion, when I saw it, led me to the decision of a penalty. But as you said, there's hardly any harm done, so that's why the penalty was as small as it could possibly be. But ultimately, in that corner, in that braking zone, in that movement, Mikey was at fault. So yeah, he strongly disagrees. Now, I did get up from the rules. So Rule 13 of racing: dive bombs are allowed but must be done in a controlled manner. Participants who dive bomb and can't control their car will be penalised for reckless driving. So, at no point was Fadge not in control of his car or, driving in a reckless manner. So therefore, that wasn't relevant on this occasion.
Yeah, I must be honest. I think that looking at that incident, I think that ignoring one hub rules for a sec, I think that's a penalty in any racing rules, to be honest. No more than 3. It's not like ridiculous, but it's not a dive bomb because he's already alongside before the braking zone. So really speaking, a dive bomb would be a late dive right in the, just before the apex of the corner, but you can see that he's already alongside, so...
Yeah, I think you're just going to see from Mikey's view, and again, apologies, Jess is having some issues with the stream, but you'll see that, it's just a bit of a squeeze into the entry of the corner at the apex, so ultimately the room disappears and contact is made.
Yeah, Jess, I don't know whether you could try and pause it at the point that he turns in on the apex. Oh, broadcast has ended.
I think Jess is saying she's just going to restart it just to try and clear some of the issues. So we're on board here with Mikey, and yeah, you can see there that he's just gone a bit too close to the curb on the left-hand side, and unfortunately squeezes. But right, let's move on, Cole, to the next one, which is Matthias lap 1. Now, this was obviously a racing-ending incident for Matthias, and although he argued that that in itself was his penalty, the stewards don't look at it from that point of view. So you can see there Matthias straight into the wall, causing damage and time loss to multiple cars. Just got it wrong, broke too late. He was having a great season up till then, but just shows, mistakes can happen.
Yeah, that's it. It's quite a common mistake. We saw quite a lot of outbreaking things like that into turn 3, and you can see that Matthias, there's nothing malicious there. Just outbraked himself and chosen the best option, really, which is to go down the in and not hit anyone in the back. But of course, he does unfortunately ruin 2 other drivers' race at the same time, unfortunately. But he's had a great season anyway. He should still be very, very proud of what he's achieved this season, and he's not out of the hunt.
Yeah, so the stewards issued a 15-place grid penalty because he didn't finish the race. So it would have been a 15-second time penalty, and of course that is decided by the parameters that we use in One Hub Racing for incidents. You can see it on his view. He's just got it wrong. Broke too late on the inside. Ends his race, but because he affected others' races, he still has to be penalised.
Yeah, exactly that.
Oh, it's now saying the video is cancelled.
That's good, my end.
Okay,
we good.
Let's move on to the last incident to look at, which is between Hockey and Quinn. Which, again, funnily enough, I think it's at turn 3 as well. So just showing how difficult turn 3 is. 90-degree walls either side. So we're on board with Quinn, I believe, here. Colton heading into turn 3. He's broke sensibly for the car in front and then just hit from the rear.
Yeah, so Hockey Night misjudges the closing speed there to the cars in front, because it is, you're approaching it at very high speed, and it is a particularly slow corner. So unfortunately, you can see there that Quinn lost a considerable amount of time. And it was 10 places. So the reason why there's that disparity between Matthias and Quinn is because this only affected one driver and not multiple.
Yeah, so drivers will always look at the stewards will always look at the parameters, which is damage and amount of time lost. They'll put it in one of the categories. I don't know if Jess can bring it up on screen, just to remind our viewers. They'll put it in one of the stages, and whatever one it fits, it will it will fall under that incident. So, and it will obviously depend, Cole, if they finish the race, a time penalty. If they haven't finished the race, then it will be a grid penalty for that amount of time to places instead.
Yeah, it's these parameters, it keeps it consistent. It removes an element of interpretation as well, and it just keeps the penalties, so pretty much everyone knows what they're going to get from incidents roughly, and it's something I think Formula 1 should implement in real life, to be honest.
Yeah, they should even get Lukey to do the graphics. All right, let's head over to some good examples. So, by the way, if you're watching, make sure you put your POVs in the content creation channel, just so when we're looking for good overtakes and stuff, we can watch. And if you've got a suggestion, then just link the timestamp. We're going to start with myself, and Kieran in the P1 tier. And it's interesting, Cole. We've had a few incidents in turn 3. And you'll see here, myself and Kieran go side by side for a couple corners.
Yeah, so this shows that, it can be done, with a bit more awareness. So you can see there that Kieran gets a bit blocked by Chris, and then Nick does a brilliant manoeuvre, to be fair, around the outside.
Thanks for showing my wing damage, Jess.
I was just about to say that, yeah. And there's Chris defending the inside, and then Nick. It's quite powerful, the DRS around there. Oh, I think the stream's gone. Funny buggers. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's this is the start. This was quite a tricky first corner, isn't it, Nick, round here?
Yeah, really difficult, especially with that curb on the right-hand side, as you can see Chris found out. And then there's incident there. There's Colin's spin, damage, which ruins your race. Kieran gets past me. And the thing I want to point out about this, Col, is turn 4, where I'm on the outside of Kieran, you'll notice when I turn into turn 4, I can't obviously tell. I can't see exactly how far, but you're going to see that I don't go anywhere near this inside curve because I've given Kieran the space if he does decide to, send it up the inside a little bit, or just go slightly further ahead, Jess. There you go. So you can see the space I gave the curb there. And that's just, if you race like that, you're less likely to have an incident.
Yeah, exactly. And what that also does then is that, because Nick's basically doing it from his experience, he's going, well, Kieran's on the inside here, going to slightly outbrake himself and run a little wide. So Nick is going, well, I'm going to give him a bit of room, so if he does run a bit, I'm safe. And it's little things like that do that will help you avoid incidents and avoid other people's errors as well.
All right, I think next we're going to go, going to be Kieran's POV, and it's going to be a switchback that he does. So switchback Cole, obviously, where you brake early, get on the power early on corner exit, and get the place that way rather than on the brakes.
Yes, exactly that. And originally it was actually called the Mansell Shuffle because Mansell was one of the first drivers really to really use this type of overtaking maneuver, really speaking, believe it or not. But that's a lovely switchback. So you can see that Kieran brakes a little bit earlier. So he planned that in the braking before turn 1 and does a lovely switchback on 2 very, very fast experienced drivers. So that was and you can see there, look, he's put the car in the middle of the road as well. Doesn't weave, doesn't change direction abruptly, but basically makes it impossible for anyone else to overtake down the inside. So that's good driving.
Yeah, you'll see it on the stream point of view. So Kieran's realised he's lost the position to 2 cars. They obviously are battling, focusing on each other. Kieran goes, thank you very much, goes down the inside. And interestingly, Cole, what I found interesting about this is he's still got a brilliant exit onto this straight here, which, helped give him a bit of momentum to keep this position, which, at this stage of the race was for the lead.
Yeah, he had a really, really good exit. But what I noticed he had a little bit of a coming out. And I did wonder, did that kind of put off the driver behind a bit? But you can see that he's got very good traction out of the corners and utilising it well.
Alrighty, next we're going to jump over to the P2 tier, Mikey's best friend, Fadged, who did 2 overtakes. So Jess will bring it up on stream for us. So here we go. So it's this long straight, gets proper tucked up behind the Red Bull, Colin, and then uses that DRS. Uses that He's going to get the DRS open now, and gaining, and you'll see what happens next.
I haven't seen this actually. It's the first time I've seen it. So a little bit wide there.
So he gets past 1 on the first straight, and then lines Mikey up. The best friends they are at the moment, and uses the DRS and He's, and ultimately gets the job done. So, it just shows you how effective the DRS can be when you've got 2 straights with braking zones like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about getting a really good exit. Not concentrating on your entrance speed, but being more concerned about the speed coming out of the corner. And that's when you can utilise the DRS and the ERS down that back straight. Oh, he's very close to that Red Bull then, wasn't he?
All right. Let's jump, Cole, now over to Imola. So it's one of your favourites, Imola. The curbs on this year's game a lot better. The chicanes, you can throw the car through. You're looking forward to this one, aren't you?
I love this track. I haven't actually driven it all that much on this game yet, but I just love it. It's a proper old school track. None of this, street circuit, half racetrack, proper old school track, corner after corner, no rest really. I mean, there's hardly any, and I just love the challenge of it. It is quite difficult to overtake. That is the negative of Imola, but I just love the track.
Yeah, I think, Cole, part of the difficulty overtaking, one of the things we wanted to mention was, although it does have that long straight, because of the kinks in it, And then the chicane, obviously, of 1 and 2. 2 and 3, because they count the just after start finish line as a corner. We have seen big accidents here in the past where it's obviously the track's kinking just before you get to the braking zone. I think we saw it a few seasons ago between White Fountain and can't remember his name.
There was an incident, I think. Yeah, there was one not last year, the year before, with Casper and Craggy as well, and I think it was Glock with White Fountain here as well.
Yes, you got a good memory, Cole. So it's just drivers just need to be careful that they've got to anticipate. Jess is shouting in our ears with me.
It's me.
We just got to remind drivers to be careful, anticipate where the car in front is going to be positioning themselves as they approach turn 2, which is a heavy braking zone, Cole, but obviously a corner that cars want to be carrying as much speed as possible. Over the curbs, Cole, just need to be mindful. I think when you've got heavy fuel on, worn tyres can sometimes catch you out. So if you're following it closely behind, we've seen it before. Drivers spinning and others having to take avoiding action.
Yeah, exactly that. And this is another where track limits are a bit of a pain. So just be wary of that. Get your practice in. Work out which corners you personally are at risk of getting penalties. So you've got a bit of an idea of where you need to be a little careful in the main race. Nick, I'm just going to jump to the chat a second. So we got Fury Formula question relating to the VSC and what's the best and correct solution when the delta is jumping around and sometimes you have to stop to even the delta number. So never ever stop on track. That's number one. Never ever stop. If you get the delta, the best thing to do is to keep it at about 1.5 seconds, because that means then if it jumps up and down, you don't have to then suddenly try and. But if you're keeping it at a couple of tenths over all of the time, when you come into a slow section, you are going to get in the negative. So as long as you keep it at 1.5 seconds, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think it's really important with the VSC is when you're obviously behind a virtual safety car, you need to be not just looking at the delta, which I understand is difficult while you're trying to drive, but you need to be anticipating the corner that you're approaching. How slow is it? If you know it's a really slow corner, you should be building up a bit of extra positive delta, so that if you do go through that slow corner a little bit too quickly, you've got that bit in hand to play with, and thus not resulting in a drive-through penalty, which is really harsh.
Yeah, exactly that. And when you're under the safety car as well, and you got there's guys in front of you. There's apps I've never understood drivers who are like inches behind the car in front. Fair enough, when the safety car says in this lap, yeah, I understand it then. But up until that point, do not go so close. Keep a good couple of cars width, because if one of the cars ahead does a sudden braking, you're going to lose your front wing. So leave a decent gap until the point at when the game tells you that the safety car's coming in.
And just quickly, last point for me on Imola, do just remember that the DRS detection zone is after the final chicane, the slow speed chicane, just to end sector, just where sector 2 and 3 ends, sector 2 ends, sector 3 starts. I think it's 14, 15 corners are. So just after there is where the detection point is. So it's quite away from where the actual activation zone is. So just something to keep in mind for those who are watching.
Yeah, and just good luck to everyone. Obviously, everyone Sunday for the stream on Sunday. Get your practice in. The curbs are a bit weird on this game, I've noticed, so just be wary of that. Get a little bit of practice in. Keep an eye out on the pit lane speed. This is a track which I have seen many 10-second time penalties, so practice the pit lane.
Alrighty, well, thank you everyone for joining. Hope you found this episode informative. Obviously, apologies for the issues you've had on stream. I know it's been a bit blurry and cutting in and out. So apologies for that. But hopefully still, it will obviously go on YouTube afterwards, as Jess always records. And that will be with higher quality. So finally, just want to give a big thanks to all of our sponsors. Next Level Racing, of course, who have been providing prizes for many seasons now. Big thanks to them. Vespertine, of course, have our merchandise, so make sure you check out our store, and of course you can win through the Drivers and Constructors Championship. SimGrid, of course, we run all our championships through them, so they make our life a lot easier. Sim racing setups new for this season, of course, go get those. Go get that Imola setup. I've tried it myself; it feels pretty good. And of course, that you get along with it wet setups, when to use ERS, deal tire temperatures for each compound, all that sort of stuff. And of course, Pure Sim Gear, who you can get your sim racing socks and sim racing gloves. Well, everyone, thank you very much. Jess has been in the background, Colin's been alongside me for this episode, and we want to thank you very much for all your support, and best of luck on Sunday.